All right, hi everyone, it's Sabrina. Today I'll be talking about a term that we're probably all familiar with because we all have studied psychology and probably used boundaries in our personal lives or talked about them in class. So boundaries are basically personal limits that individuals set for themselves so that they can protect themselves, protect their well-being, their values, their social circles. It usually involves defining what you're comfortable with, things that you may not tolerate. So, for example, like let's say you don't like to hug other people, like you don't like to greet people physically, but culturally it's like a norm for people to hug each other when they greet each other, then that's something that you would probably have to establish assertiveness with, where, oh, I'm not really comfortable with hugs, or I'm not really a hugger. And then people in return would either respect or feel disrespected by your boundary, but at least you said it. So that's just an example. I'm a hugger, but like some people aren't. So I've heard people like have to set that boundary. Some family systems have clear boundaries with each other that can be healthy. Some families have rigid boundaries that are unhealthy, or they create dysfunction within the family. And then others have enmeshed or overly involved boundaries with one another, or that could just be like the lack of boundaries overall. In family therapy, therapists can kind of assess what's going on, assess if there are any healthy boundaries, if there's unhealthy rigidities, what kind of interventions might need to take place in cases of like codependence or parentification or instances like that, so that there could be a more functional dynamic within the family system. And then overall within a system, boundaries can prevent dysfunction, as I said earlier. And then they can also help with individual development, and they can clarify roles. So if you say like, oh, my boundary, let's say I was like an administrator or a professor, then it's like, oh, I'm setting a boundary that I only work during these times, so you can only email me during these times, or things like that, so that there's proper communication with whoever you're working with, and you're able to be assertive with what you're comfortable with. Some examples, I guess, personally, as a new mom, you have to choose which boundaries you want to implement with your newborns. So, some personal boundaries that I have is just like before you visit my house or as soon as you enter my house to meet my newborns, like wash your hands, try not to like kiss my babies, stuff like that. So, that's something that requires assertiveness, but most people are respectful of that, especially if they're coming over, because that usually means they care about you and your kids. So, just asserting things like that is really important just for the well-being of my family system. And overall, the term boundaries is super important to me just because I used to be a huge people pleaser, and it used to be really difficult for me to say no to people, for me to establish what I'm comfortable with and uncomfortable with. But through, I guess, just learning how to have healthier communication and also surrounding myself with people who are respectful of my boundaries, I've gained more comfort expressing what I'm comfortable with or uncomfortable with. And also by witnessing other people do the same. I think that has helped me a lot. So I hope this video helped. If you have any questions, you can text me or email me, I guess, since I won't be in class. So yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you took something out of it.